You're listening to B2B Tech Talk with Ingram Micro, where we share topics that will inspire business growth and help you stay ahead of advances in technology before they become mainstream. This episode is sponsored by Ingram Micro Xvantage, the game-changing platform that will transform your business potential and reshape how customers see you. On today's episode, we welcome our friend Sabrina Shafer, CEO of Continuum. Sabrina Shafer, welcome to B2B Tech Talk.
Thank you for having me. This is so iconic and epic. Thank you, Nina.
It is epic.
You are one of my faves, and to be on B2B Tech Talk is very exciting. So thank you for having me.
Likewise. Thank you so much. Sabrina, I know a lot of people know you. You've been in this business and in this industry for quite some time, but there's still a lot of people that don't know you. So if you don't mind, tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Yikes. Okay. Where do you even start with a question?
I know,
Yeah,
I know so
where do you even
much.
start? Well, a little bit about myself. So I work with a lot of the amazing high tech organizations, including Ingram Micro. We're doing some really neat stuff right now. So I have a company named Transformation Continuum. We go by Continuum with the idea that go to market and innovation is a continuum. You don't just innovate and walk away. So we help the world's largest tech companies and their ecosystem go to market and everything in between. So from thought leadership to building out messaging to enablement across sales, engineering, leadership, and marketing, all the way to taking that out then to their ecosystem and building out Power of Three and solution plays. It's a lot, but I got to tell you, it is so much fun. It is unbelievable that we get paid to do this every day. It's a good time. It's a very
I love that. And thank you so much for sharing. And congratulations on your success. You transitioned now from corporate to starting your own company. What was that like?
It's, and a lot of people ask me this. I get a lot of folks, in fact, an executive at one of the Fortune, 4 hyperscalers, I'll put it that way, said, "Hey, I'm thinking about starting something." And I told her, I said, think about it because it's a lot harder than it looks. People who are particularly good at it make it look very effortless, but it's a lot of work. And then we happened to start, we incorporated about a month before the world shut down, before COVID. And I will tell you that was a blessing and a curse. We ended up doing more in that first year than I thought we would do in 5. We had already had great relationships across, the industry. And at that point, it came at such a time where the world was shutting down. Folks were trying to figure out how do we take folks home? How do we, respond to a lot of the demands that we weren't necessarily prepared for. That's when this whole buzz around digital transformation was, now becoming real. So it was a lot of work, to say the least. And I will say the best thing that I have learned to do over this time is surround yourself with the most brilliant people you can. It is no secret, and I talk about this and tout it all the time. I genuinely try to make sure that I am not the smartest person in the room. Otherwise, we're all in trouble.
Don't sell yourself short. I know your
Wow.
background.
Wow. Thank you. That's very sweet.
Well, you touched on something that I want to go a little bit deeper on, and that's the power of connection.
Mm.
And it shouldn't be underestimated because oftentimes companies build their brands from the outside in instead of the inside out. And those connections are often not as focused on as they should be. Talk to me about how you um, have valued your connections because you and I were a connection from a long time ago.
That's right.
And
Yeah,
and knowing, I mean, you came to my husband's birthday party last year. I
that's
mean, come on.
it
That
doesn't get
is the
any better than
power
that.
of connection because we took it upon ourselves to get together, to meet, to get to know what each other is doing, how we can support each other as women, but as humans too. How important is that and how underestimated is it?
No kidding. It's one of my favorite things about existing. It's absolutely what inspires me, what gets me going. It's connections are, really the foundation of every industry and the foundation of success. We were just right before this call, we were working on a big project, a big AI project. And we're looking to build out some voice for this engagement so that, people feel connected. And it all comes down to so people feel connected. And then just me personally, like you brought up, and by the way, your husband is lovely.
Thank
And
you.
so your friends and family, that was a very good time. Thank you for that. Um, Most people who I work with know me at a very deep level. And I will say, I'm an immigrant. When we moved to the country, we had no money. In fact, we lived in a car, and my mom borrowed money from a second grade teacher to get our first apartment. It was terrifying, and it instilled this level of work ethic and understanding that you have to rely on people. We don't get here alone. And once you understand that and really start to enjoy it and embrace it, it completely changed my life. It changed my trajectory and how I engage with people, who I engage with. And then of course it amplifies and it scales at a global level now with Continuum. So I think having personal relationships is one of the most important things you can do. And I'll tell you my secret, because I try not to hide anything. In fact, a lot of this is in stuff that I've written that's published for free and ungated out there for this reason. But I find that when you are willing to be your most authentic self, as scary as that is, and we could talk about how I've conquered fear lately, but when you're really willing to be the scary parts of you at a big level, at a very visible level, that's when my relationship skyrocketed. You know things about me. Anyone who knows me knows things about me that I in my past was embarrassed about or scared about or worried about. And now, I put it out there because I'm either for you or I'm not. It's okay. There's billions of people in this world. So you should get to know the real me. And I want to get to know the real you. So I would say that's my secret.
You know what? That's incredibly beautiful and vulnerable, and um, being vulnerable and authentic is it's such a powerful tool. I mean, it's when you think about how you relate to your your associates, your customers, the people around you. If you are not being your authentic self and being vulnerable, every time people don't know who the real you is each time you engage with them, and it's confusing. So
Mhm.
when you think about it that way, how important is it to make sure that you show up? And you certainly do show up. And I get to embarrass you because a lot of people may not know these things about you. You fostered children, you've supported a local congressman, you're a lawyer, you're an aspiring stand-up comic. Is that still
Wow. I do love to do stand up comedy. Yes, I do.
awesome? How's that going?
You know what? Talk about, taking fear head on. I was recently asked to do something, you become friends. Again, we talk about connections. You become friends with people in the industry in comedy, and I was recently asked by a friend of mine who does a whole series of shows around Chicago to do a show for him. And so I said, absolutely, I'd love to. I was thinking it was more of an open mic. And then I get there and he said, no, you're the open. This is a real
Oh,
comedy show. And I'm like,
no
okay,
pressure.
no pressure. Here we go. But you know what? It was a blast. And again, it's about connecting. There's a lot of science and psychology behind why humor is so important for the human psyche and connections and bonding, including in marketing, including in building relationships. But for me, I really started it because I was taking fear head on very consciously and intentionally. And I decided I was going to start doing things that scared me more than anything. And that was it. Public speaking was one of them. And I thought, what would be more terrifying than standing up in front of, a group of people trying to make them laugh when you've never done that before. And it's been, about a year now, year and a half, and I absolutely love it. It's a blast.
You are brave. I will say that. But I always believe that if you want to do something hard, do something harder than the hard thing you want to do, right? Really challenge yourself because it's one way to conquer your fears. And you are a student of Second City?
I am a student of Second City. Yes, yes, I
I'm a
am.
Second City student
Yeah.
too. Yeah, how about that? Love that school and love all the wonderful people who work there. Let's talk a little bit about the industry because it's a crazy year. It's already out of the gate. Things are happening. We're starting to see and hear about layoffs, and not really 100% sure. AI is the reason that's driving this. It could be some of it. It could just be, things that people are looking at. But what are you hearing from the partners? How are they doing? How are they embracing the possibilities of AI while looking at the industry overall and going, holy smokes, things are shaking up out there?
Right. It's definitely the buzzword du jour. I mean, there is no doubt about it. I would say at this point, at least 30-40% of our work right now is around building messaging
Yeah.
and, go to market strategy and campaigns and engagements, enablement around AI. And the number one thing that we are seeing and hearing is, how are we relevant in this space? How are we relevant when it comes to AI, understanding its maturity level right now? Um, and then second is, how do we differentiate in this space? How do we sell something? What are we selling when we say AI? And I think that's twofold. I think there's what's on the truck now, and ways to show that you're innovating and that you're leveraging AI to do things better, faster, smarter. But I think also to paint a vision. And I think that's the biggest piece. And we saw this coming into the industry when we started really focusing on selling from a consultative perspective, understanding what business outcomes really mean, and now business objectives and how you align that to real metrics. So we saw this coming. A lot of our work is around enabling even leadership on speaking to AI in a relevant way, and both to the business decision maker, but also the technical decision maker. That's the other thing. So, if nothing else, AI has made the world very complex, and I anticipate it will continue to do that. But it's also opened up some pretty incredible possibilities. We're already seeing some incredible innovation around it. And I think this is clearly just the beginning.
Yeah, I agree with you. What advice? Because we're for being two letters, that is the bigger than any ocean, right? It's massive. The possibilities are massive. What exists today is massive. What came before these two letters became in everybody's lexicon, right?
Right.
I mean, it's been around for a long time, but not, now it's really something. Now it's really being productized
Mhm.
and shared broadly and available broadly and globally thanks to chat gpt and other technologies that have come out at the same time. What advice would you give these partners who are like, where do I put my toe in?
Well, it depends on what objective you're trying to, what's the outcome? I always say start with the outcome and then work your way backwards. So if you're looking to land net new customers, then you need to know. So I guess it really starts with understand the data, understand what you're trying to do, and then get smart about it. If you're trying to influence net new logos, that's different than, drive expansion sales. But most importantly is figure out how you differentiate. Where do you really come into play? Because a lot of times what we're hearing is it's our people. Well, if everyone's team is their differentiation, no one's team is their differentiation. So finding where is your place in that market that adds value, and then understanding what are you trying to do with it, who are you trying to appeal to, and understanding the data there. What are they buying? What do they care about? What does their roadmap look like? And again, do you have what it takes, and if not, get the help to do it, to paint that roadmap. Because this is certainly not, again, back to the name, Transformation Continuum. This is not a one-stop shop. You don't AI all the things and then walk away. That's just not how it works. So really understanding, do we have a clear vision that I can paint to my target audience, whatever that looks like, or audiences, which is very, which is fine. Do I have that clear vision? And if not, start there. And start fast. We represent and work with a lot of traditional VARs, GSIs, SIs, distribution partners, ecosystem partners, you name it. And one of the things that I'm noticing is there's some heavy investment. So get smart and get in the game. If you have a play, get in the game now.
Yeah, for sure. I don't think that, well, as Sanjeev Sahu, our chief digital officer, would say, don't fear AI, cheer AI. So dive in, do something, show you're a player in some capacity. Because if not, 6 months is going to be too long. And everyone else, your competitors, will be already there. Completely agree with you. So, what questions do you have for me today?
I would love to know, especially given your background and all of the conversations and engagements that you're in, what are you seeing? Where do partners really need to double down when it comes to all things AI?
Yeah, yeah. Um, I think there's low hanging fruit
Mm-hmm.
that they can embrace. There's a lot of companies, a lot of startups are starting to come out with products and solutions. I think there's a couple of things they need to focus on, or maybe a few things. I think it's looking at, hey, everybody's got Microsoft. Look at Copilot. How can we customize Copilot? That would be one thing that they could look at. I think the next thing they have to look at is helping their customers with governance, their own specific governance around AI and how they use it, as well as AI security, because no matter what industry, they're all going to face those challenges. So I think for partners, that would be a great way um, to jump ahead. And I think lastly, focus on one of your niches at a time, right? If you have, to your point, if you're focused on healthcare, really understand how this can apply to the healthcare business. What data is available? Can that be amassed and retold in a story that will help the business grow? That's what, but I'm hearing more the fear than the cheer. Hoping to hear more of the cheer, and just jump in. Start small, jump in, and work with partners like Ingram Micro and others. Working with companies like you around messaging and helping them go to market, because that's the other piece of this. How do they tell that story?
Right. Right.
That's understanding how to showcase and tell that story in a way that's compelling and
Mhm.
inviting to potential customers without scaring them.
Right. And I think that's the biggest key to painting a picture, because now all of a sudden that's how the human brain works. It's called chunking for my psychology geeks out there. But if you can break it down into little pieces, it's just like when you get overwhelmed with something, they say write it down, make a list of all the things you got to do, break it down and paint a big picture for how are you going to go to market? How are you going to, help your customers leverage AI to, go bigger, go better, build bigger things, build better things, approach a different market, whatever it might be. I completely agree with you. And you bring up a great point about governance too. That's incredibly important and something we have not figured out. So if that's a space that you can play in, that's a great call. That's a great
Yeah,
call.
100%. And you can't count on um, the wait for the federal government to come out with some sort of rules or consortiums that are going to be creating that governance. It's kind of like still the wild west. So I would say they have to focus on that particular customer or that particular niche and make it so it's repeatable, and
Mhm.
that will help them develop and grow that business. Yeah, it's a very exciting time. Exciting time at Ingram Micro. Exciting time for Continuum.
Mhm.
You are just, and by the way, audience, we did not call each other ahead of time and say that we were going to wear red today. It just happened. And
We're just connected that way. See,
we
we're
are
just
just
connected that
connected
way.
that way in such a powerful way. And actually, the work for the congressman that you did was in our district when we lived in Chicago. So
You're right. You're right.
lot of connections, and you're just really a special lady, and you've really impressed me in how you've started your business, grown your business. I was at the airport when you called me that day and said, "Hey, guess what? I'm
Excellent.
starting a company." And I'm like, okay, she's going to be successful. I know she will.
Oh, thank you. It's again it and thank you because it means a lot to me. And you're right. I remember that call too. And there's so much to be said. Again, back to the beginning of this conversation around connections, and it applies to the same thing as we see all of these, massive layoffs as we, approach the world of AI. It all comes into play, and it all kind of circles back to connections. So yes, I very much remember that. And thank you. Thank you for being there this whole time. Again, it goes back to really having folks and partners that you can trust. Ingram's been an incredible partner that Continuum's been able to work with and partner with, and pull into different engagements as well to make sure that our partners, once they have what they need, then have the Ingram hand holding that they'll need to be able to be successful. We don't do this alone. And I think one of the unique advantages right now, especially as we're seeing these layoffs, is there's a huge talent pool. And it would be crazy not to leverage them in some way. And there's a new economy, there's a new market starting, that's been here for a while. COVID kind of kicked it off. But there's a lot of talent out there now and partnerships that you're seeing pop up that you never would have seen come together. So I think it's an interesting time to be in our industry for sure. For sure.
Absolutely, and it's going to go fast. So buckle up, and if
Yes.
you want to move fast, join the ride.
Yes.
Sabrina, always a pleasure. I'm so excited. I've been waiting all day to do this interview because you're such a dear friend, and I look forward to seeing you next time I'm in Chicago.
I can't wait, and I'm so impressed with the things that you've been doing. We didn't even get a chance to talk about some of the other things that you have coming up and your different projects and engagements. But for folks who don't know Nina, you need to follow Nina. She is special, good people, and she gets stuff differently than other people. There's a reason we've been connected. And like I said earlier, I like to make sure I'm surrounding myself by very brilliant people. And hands down, you are one of them. So thank
Oh
you for
my
that.
goodness. Thank you so much. You are a dear. You know what? We'll make time next time,
All
and
right.
we'll definitely do this again. And also make sure that you follow Sabrina on LinkedIn because she does LinkedIn Lives and has some really great guests as well. And it's fun to hear the perspectives from the leaders in the industry who you've invited and have graciously accepted to be on your show. So everyone tune into her show as well.
Thank you. Well, thank you, everyone. So nice to see you again, Nina. And stay tuned. A lot more to come. Great things ahead.
Best is yet to come. Impactful global engagements, iconic entertainment experiences, and memorable networking opportunities. Be part of it all at Ingram Micro One 2024. You've been listening to Ingram Micro's B2B Tech Talk. Thanks for tuning in. If you like this episode and you want to continue the conversation online, use hashtag B2B Tech Talk.